Hi guys, my name is Doug. Welcome to the video. In a very interesting turn of events, I am going to be recording this video with about as much effort as I feel Justin Bieber put into his latest project, Changes. Now, as you can tell, my tone is largely uninspired, monotone, and very lacking in any sort of emotion, passion, spirit, and really, that's Justin Bieber's performance throughout this project. As you can see, I'm holding my camera at an awkward angle instead of putting it into a tripod and having my light turned on, because that would require some forethought and some planning and actual care for the video that I was about to record. But honestly, it doesn't seem like Justin Bieber had any of that for his latest project either. And you see, the reason that I am able to simply record this, barely edit it, put as minimal amount of effort into it as possible and still release it, because I know that people who are fans of the channel are going to watch it anyway, in the same way that Justin Bieber knew that fans of his would listen to the album and stream it as much as he asked them to anyway. And it really required no effort, forethought, passion, emotion, or energy from him. After a 5-year hiatus, coming off of a project that I thought was very interesting, mostly produced by Skrillex, some EDM concepts there, some interesting production, very nice electronic melodies during some of the choruses, and at the very least it showed some sort of experimenting on Justin Bieber's part. I was expecting this to be possibly along the same train of thought, along the same line of thinking, along the same vein of taking his performance, his songwriting, his musicality, because he's extremely talented, and channeling it into something a little bit more experimental. And I even mentioned in my Yummy reaction that it made sense to me to put out your poppiest, laziest, most radio-friendly song as your single as you're coming back from a very long hiatus, because you want people to really feel like they can approach your project. And so that made sense to me, although I was expecting the album to be a little bit more varied than that generic poppy style that we got on Yummy. I was extremely disappointed. I watched Fantano's review, and honestly, if you want to know my thoughts, you can watch Fantano's 5-minute review, because that's really the most amount of time that this project warrants, and I agree with every single thing that Anthony Fantano said about this project, including what he said about the features. Travis Scott's lazy performance on the feature really is exactly the energy on a feature that Justin Bieber deserved, because of the performance that he had throughout the entire project. If you listen to Post Malone's feature on this project, at least his performance plays around with the dynamics a little more. His voice goes from being in a comfortable singing range to belting and kind of screaming some lyrics to softer portions, and he plays around with that. Whereas Justin's delivery throughout the entire project sits at a very comfortable kind of monotone range, where at the very most he'll go into a very soft whispered falsetto and really just plays around with the dynamics very, very little. This project was kind of lazily written. It all sounds very lackluster and bland. I was talking to my wife about this project, and I said that it's almost like Justin Bieber was a cook, and he prepared a meal for us, and he just threw some salt on it and said, "There, it's seasoned. Have this." And cooking with salt has been known to work for hundreds of years. It's not bad. It's edible, but it could be so much better and so much more varied and complex than what we actually got. So this album is really perfect if you're putting it on in the background and it's going to be a completely passive listen, because it is just so mind-numbingly boring and generic and bland that any sort of active listening to this project will just lead you to be feeling very empty and bored and disappointed, really. And I was really upset about halfway through the project, because it's over 50 minutes long, and I really just had no desire to keep on going because it was just so mediocre. And like I said, cooking with salt has been known to work. It's a formula that has worked for a long time, and it's not bad. If you listen to the music, none of it is bad, but none of it is interesting. None of it is memorable. None of it is enjoyable, really, on a deeper, more complex level. There's not much to appreciate. It lacks seasoning. It lacks emotion. It lacks passion. It lacks effort. It lacks experience, an emotional experience on the part of the listener. It doesn't invoke any sort of response from the listener at all. I always think that music, when it's really good, is not only inspired, but it is inspiring. It will lead you to think, it will lead you to feel, it will lead you to feel a certain way, or to want to listen to the music again, to experience it in a different way, from a different frame of mind, a different perspective. And this album just has none of that at all. So I really do just take Fantano's words, make them my own. This album is not good. This was the video that had just about as much effort put into it as Justin Bieber's Changes had effort put into it on Justin Bieber's part. Know that this is not normally how I make my videos. This is very much so a demonstration. I felt that doing the video this way would make it a little more interesting. It would add another level to the review. If you feel like checking out some of the other videos on my channel, I would really appreciate that. If this is your first video that you're watching of mine, you'll most likely never be back, unfortunately. But if you thought that this was a clever take on the project, and you appreciate the sense of humor, and you are interested in hearing some of my other thoughts on some of the more recent albums that were ridiculously good that have come out so far this year, I'd appreciate you taking the time to check those videos out. I really appreciate you watching this one as well. Support the channel any way that you see fit, and I will be back in another video very, very soon, guys. Until then, stay safe, and as always, peace out.